Oh,
Yeah.
Now I finally got the boots to match my dress. This is great. I'm looking fly right now.
Put on crop top, brain gives dopamine. Simple as that. Hey,
Hello.
what's going on?
Oh, nothing much. Just hanging, thinking about video games.
I'm also thinking about video games, just kind of constantly.
Chase, I think that's a false statement, Chase.
I'm thinking about video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I feel like everybody was very excited last week of like, hey, we're all going to talk about Zelda, which we are here on Video Game Podtimism, the Optimists video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
My name is David.
It's really running out of gas.
That was intense. You were running out of air there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody was really excited about talking about Zelda. And I was also excited to talk about Zelda. But as it turns out, I'm still excited to talk about Zelda. And I'm also unable to play anything else. I was really hoping to have like some weird shitty PS1 game for you today. And I sure don't. I've got one Switch game for you.
The hidden PS1 deck building roguelike that Chase has never heard of before. The Holy Grail.
Yeah. I was so close to getting one too. There was a humble bundle sale that I was recommended from one of our listeners. And they were like, hey, this is a thing that's available to you. And I was very excited about that, but I didn't get it yet.
Hey.
I've been wanting to play fights in tight spaces, but here I am not buying that game right now.
I mean, you could buy it, but I don't think you'd be playing it.
Yeah, it will sit and collect dust until I am the hero of time.
Yeah, you'll sit up from playing Zelda, and Link will just look at you in the eyes and just know that you're joking, and you'll sit right back down where you know you want to be.
You come back down here, the couch. You know where you need to be.
Put yourself where you belong.
It's a weird Link kink that I've got going on here.
Hey, when he put on those little tights in the first bit where you get I forget what it even was, but no, like a little tunic or whatever it was.
The tunic was good. I'm not gonna deny the tunic's drip. That was pretty nice.
The tunic was dripping.
Hey, have you been playing video games, David? Other than Zelda, I guess.
Yes, I still have been playing Zelda. I don't know if I've been playing it as much as you or a lot of other folks because I'm still just waist deep in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, you had to hashtag finish the fight with Dark Souls 3.
Hashtag finish the fight. My end game for this has been very strange. It's been a very strange end game because I was making my way through Lothric Castle and I found those dragons that were guarding that bridge. And I was like, I don't know how to get past these dragons. So I left and started looking around and I went to apparently an optional secret area, Archdragon Peak. And I was like, okay, dragons are guarding that bridge. I'm at Archdragon Peak. Maybe I have to like find something in here to get past these dragons. So I've just been getting my ass handed to me in Archdragon Peak over and over and over again. And then I finally go back to Lothric Castle and I found out that I just have to drop down the bridge to the side to get past the dragons. I'm like, I was like terribly over leveled for Lothric Castle at that point. I just plowed through everyone with my flaming demon Castus? How do you pronounce that? The fist.
Cestus? I don't know, David.
Cestus.
That is a word I have only read.
So I just plowed through there, beat the freaky twin boys at the top of the castle, and then I didn't know what to do. It wasn't letting me place the Lord Cinder, so then I went back to Archdragon Peak. I'm like, well, maybe there's something over here I have to do. And I've just been getting my ass handed to me by the Nameless King repeatedly for the past like 2 nights. I've probably fought him maybe a good 40 or 50 times at this point now. And he's just demolishing me. And then now I've been told by Chase that he is an optional boss, and that I just
says.
didn't put the cinders on the throne the way that FromSoft wanted me to, that Miyazaki demanded from me. So fuck me, I guess.
You like went to your local bowling alley and accidentally wandered into like the professional league of bowlers. When like you were just trying to like throw a couple balls at some pins.
Dude, I was trying to go to Chuck E. Cheese and I accidentally walked into like the WWE tryouts next door and just got suplexed repeatedly.
These people are really good at wrestling. What the fuck?
They are just, I've just been getting pile driven repeatedly by the fucking Nameless King, dude. He is so strong. Yeah. And my little punchy fist is so hard to get to him. I just have to be right next to him to just even tickle him a little bit with my fist. But now that I know I'm going the wrong direction, I will reverse course and report back what has happened to me the next time that we do this pod. I'm assuming that I'm just going to demolish this last boss because I've soul grinded like 5 or 6 levels trying to get strong enough to beat the Nameless King. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Amazing. I'm willing to bet you will beat this in the next like couple times that you boot this game up.
Yeah, I just want to see the different endings. I want to see if stabbing that poor lady in the head was really worth it.
Who did you stab in the head, David?
Henri of Astoria. We got married and I stabbed her in the head. Apparently that's how you marry people in the land of Londor, the land of the Hollows.
I don't think I like this ceremony.
No, I was all jazzed. Like this woman was talking to me in the Firelink Shrine, and you know who that guy that you can save in the beginning, who's that weird hunchback looking dude who will sell you sorceries afterwards.
Yeah.
If you talk to him enough and let him power you up 5 times, he'll come back and he'll be murdered by this other woman who's also from Londor, the land that he's from. Yeah. And she's just like, hey, if you find Henri of Astoria, make sure that you let her know that you want to get married or some shit.
Whoa.
And she was just saying that she was ready for the I think it was I forget what they call it, the vow of betrothal or the rite of betrothal or something like that. Like go to the Dark Moon church and do the rites, and good things will happen for the hollow people. And I went there and I did it, and she's just like laying with a sheet over her head, or her whole body, really. Yeah. There's a spot for me to lay down too, and it just says press X to initiate the rite of betrothal, and I do it, and they give me a sword, and I just like slowly stab her through her face.
Yeah.
And that was it. And they have failed to elaborate since then. That it was one of the most FromSoft things I've experienced.
Yeah, it's very FromSoft to
what
not
kind of
tell
wedding
you what's
is
going to
this?
happen.
Did George R.R. Martin write this? What's going on here?
Very praying mantis of you.
I mean, opposite praying mantis. It's the lady that kills in the praying mantis relationship.
Yeah, sure, but still the murder happens.
The murder happens. So I want to see the ending to see if that was at all the right
relevant.
Yeah. Because she was a nice lady. You talked to her and she was around. It's like, hey, what's up? She was just traveling with her friend Horace, who I also might have killed. I found him in some like magma lake, and he just came and attacked me. I had to defend myself.
It's always so confusing. Like, I love FromSoft games, but they do that a lot where they're just like, this is a bad guy now. And if you weren't paying attention to the story, then sorry.
This NPC that you've talked to like a handful of times now wants to murder you. Like, excuse me? What? I thought we were cool.
Got to go to the YouTube and have a fancy British man explain to you the lore of Dark Souls to understand why this has happened.
That's the one. Yeah, I have to have the British voiceover for telling me why what I did was a terrible bad thing to do and that I should feel ashamed of myself and my actions. That's really what it comes down to.
If you weren't paying attention to the lore by now, you wouldn't know that by doing this one really specific thing at this one really specific time, you've doomed all of humanity.
If you're an American buffoon, you probably did this.
American gamers would never be able to understand
the subtleties of a Japanese From Software game.
I mean, I don't, so...
Yeah, I definitely do not. I enjoy how opaque it is, but I would not say that I understand it.
I'm with you.
Like, why are there giant butterflies? What giant, nasty butterflies? Why is there a big eclipse going on all of a sudden?
I know that there are answers for some of those things, but sometimes there isn't, and I don't know. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind it because it is just evocative as well. It's just fun.
Yes. It's the Kingdom Hearts of hard video games.
The Kingdom Hearts of hard video games.
It's just running on vibes.
It's running on vibes. But there is a coherent story underneath there. Although there is a coherent story somewhat underneath Kingdom Hearts too.
It's in there. It's just buried under a lot of proper nouns and names.
A lot of proper nouns, a lot of mobile-only games, probably some stage plays that were only aired for like a week in Japan at some point.
It's going to be tough to go back and do the Kingdom Hearts 2 episode whenever that happens, because that is not nearly as fresh in my mind. Fuck it. Maybe I'll just play it again. Who knows, man? It wasn't that long.
But yeah, Dark Souls 3 is still good.
Yeah.
That's all I've been playing besides Tears of the Kingdom.
Did I see you boot up MGS3? Is that a thing that happened?
I did boot that up. I've gotten through the first level, like the intro level,
right?
Which
where
was
boss comes
some
and kicks your ass.
gameplay, but mostly cutscene.
Yes.
It is, it is girthy in the beginning with the cutscene. And then if I remember correctly, it really opens up to just more gameplay at this point, with some cutscenes like more tastefully cut in. But that first one's like, well, this is just like an hour-long movie right now with a little bit of gameplay every now and then. It's still, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing the game. I love these games, but it really was in stark contrast to Dark Souls that I've been playing, right? Which is just like, get in there. No cutscenes, just do it.
There's 10 seconds of a cutscene in the beginning, and that's all you get.
Yeah, and they say like one sentence that you understand. Everything else is just gibberish. Like, what are you saying?
Proper nouns and like places that you don't know yet.
It is a lot of proper nouns and jargon for the world. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here. I'm just here to fight.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But yeah, MGS3 is also still good, turns out.
Yeah. Very fun.
Really into it so far. I just love the boss. The boss is such a cool character.
Yeah. When I played through that recently too, I kind of forgot. I don't know why, but like the boss's presence in that game is definitely one of the best things about it.
Absolutely.
And like there's a lot of emphasis on Snake and Ava's relationship in there, and that's like present, but God, like so much more interesting to me is the relationship between Snake and the boss, like leaps and bounds more interesting.
Yep. And just how that story ends.
It's very good. It's very fun. Good. We'll talk about it at some point. Gaming.
Do you need to discuss some thoughts on Zelda, Chase? Okay. I'm ready.
Great. Okay. At the top.
You're like, great. Get out of the way.
Move. I got things to say. For anybody who's like concerned about spoilers, in the next little bit, we'll probably talk about components of the game world that you probably know about now if you're listening to this podcast and have been paying attention to Zelda at all. The presence of a specific sword that you can probably guess if you've ever played a Zelda game before. And yeah, some of the structural stuff and then a couple of side quests, but I think mostly you will be safe from spoilers in this. Like if you're a person who has existed on the internet in the past couple of weeks, like with Zelda being out, then I think you'll be fine. I'm not going to like really dive into super heavy stuff, but just heads up in case you're wanting to go into it totally blind and you haven't had that opportunity yet. Here's your out. You can skip to the next chapter. So yeah, up to this point, I have gotten through 3 of the like major dungeons in the game. It seems like there's 4, but it also is Zelda and could be like, all right, here's your next 5 after that or whatever. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I've really enjoyed those. But I think like the thing that is still just pulling me along is like, I'm just kind of wandering out there and doing whatever my heart compels. It's a lot of shrines, but been like kind of digging into some of the side quests recently just to like be able to, upgrade armor and get the Master Sword, which is the sword that I was referencing before. Yeah. I won't spoil how you get it or anything around that, but I will say when you get it, it's a fucking gut punch that I was not expecting. Like story wise, I was surprised at the turn that it took. There's like 2 routes to get it. You can do a bunch of the dragon tears, the like story beats that you can collect. Yeah. Or if you manage to find the Deku tree, then he'll tell you where it is too. And when you go get it, like it doesn't outright say to you what's happening, but like if you kind of read into the situation, especially if you took the Deku tree route, like not everything is obvious at that point. It's still just a fucking gut punch that I was not expecting. And I'm still kind of reeling from, honestly. Whoa. Okay. It's not a major upheaval of the lore necessarily, but like I think the narrative implication of what happened, I'm like, oh God, it has shaken me a little bit with how I understand this game. Because isn't the Master Sword a person? I mean, it was the Skyward Sword. It was Fee. That isn't necessarily referenced, but there are people involved in you getting it. I'll leave it at that because I think it is worth experiencing how that happens. But yeah, it was definitely a moment, and I think they give it the weight that it deserves in that moment, which is something that I've also been realizing that they're doing really, really well in this game that I don't remember a lot of in Breath of the Wild. I might be misremembering, but like I feel like this game is really good at letting you have important moments and like sit with them. And strangely enough, I've been seeing a lot of moments in the game where the game is comfortable with showing characters having like really good moments of joy. I don't know that I saw that a lot in the first one, but just like people kind of having like incredibly sweet moments I know that this game and Breath of the Wild 2, they get compared to Miyazaki films a lot, Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah.
And like, I think that the visual part of that is definitely here. And like, just side note, I think the visuals in this one are striking at certain times, like just so good.
I don't remember them being quite so good in Breath of the Wild.
No. And like, I think half of that is just like art direction. Like, it's not just that the graphics look good. I think that there are certain moments that they can really make hit hard just based on like how a situation looks, which is really cool. But anyway, yeah, so like there's all these moments where specifically in like kind of side quests, stuff with like Terrytown and the like musical troupe that you can hang out with. And there's also this like coastal town that you kind of rebuild at a certain point. They got taken over by like the Bokobins or Bobokins or whatever. And once you take that back, it's like a process of rebuilding this town. And at the end of that, it's just really moving. Like I was saying, the comparisons to Miyazaki are there. And I think that is more than just the graphics. It is also the game's comfortability with letting you sit in these kind of like quiet and sweet moments that present themselves. I feel like Studio Ghibli films are like really good at that, where they'll have just like an establishing shot of like a field for like 10 full seconds or something.
Yeah.
Or like just a shot of a character kind of like existing for a little bit or hanging out or like not doing something that is directly related to the plot. Right. I think the scenes in Spirited Away where they're like riding the train with No Face or whatever. And like that scene is important because they're moving from one place to another, but there's a lot of them just like sitting on the train, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's like really beautiful in a way and like not something I get from a lot of other media. But yeah, they do that in this game too. And I think the musical troupe specifically is something that like really stood out to me of these. It's like how you unlock like great fairies is that you have to play the music, and there's always like a certain amount of musical troupe members near the Great Fairy who are like, hey, we're trying to put this like group back together, and typically you have to like go do some side quest for one of the members, and a couple of them are just like incredible. You know, like there's this person who like wants to put on a cool show for one of their friends. And then once you do that, there's like very nice kind of like quiet moments that they have with these people. And then whenever they play music, that's also incredible because it's like, it's just people who are enjoying playing their instrument. Yeah, it's really, really good and not something that I would expect from a Zelda game. I feel like typically Zelda stories are good and like emotional in certain places, but not like this, not in the way that they're doing it. And like this game has those moments too, right? Like the gut punch I was talking about earlier hits really hard and is like a very specific plot beat. Whereas like, I think that they are running a little bit more on vibe and tone in certain parts of this game, which is just, it's really incredible. And like something that outside of the mechanical wonders that this game has would still be good outside of the mechanical parts of this game being just like absolutely absurdly good. This would also be like very, very cool and something that I don't know that I get a lot in other games. I think Season did this really good or really well too. Just allowing you to kind of soak in the moment every now and then.
Sure.
And having that like mean something, not just like we're giving you some downtime between the fight.
Yeah. It's kind of taking its philosophy of like the game world and the design and putting it into the story as well, of just letting you breathe and just letting things sit and just not forcing you to do or feel something, but just letting you do it yourself.
Totally. It's really well done. And like, I wonder what a Zelda game would look like where the danger is not always quite as pressing. I think that gives it like an emotional center and like drive to play the game, right? Like I think in the first one, like Blight Ganon or whatever, just like circling around the castle at all times was like, yeah, I should probably figure this out. But their ability to do these moments well really makes me think like, God, you guys could do like an incredible job of just like world building if there wasn't a existential threat at all times.
Sure.
You know?
So you're saying like a Hyrule farm simulator or something?
I don't know if I would go that far, but like I think that the world feels in service of this quest that you're on, and that's appropriate, right? Like, it's The Legend of Zelda. Of course, there's going to be a quest, but they're already doing such a good job of like setting tone and allowing you to experience this world in ways that are like so effective and set the place so well that like I can imagine a world where if they made a game like this, or if somebody made a game like this, I'd probably kind of like Season, honestly, where there is not a gigantic pig monster flying around the sky at all times.
Yeah.
They would just be able to set a kind of world that is just incredible. I was thinking about this because like I've been noticing that my experience playing this game is reminding me a lot of when, weirdly enough, when World of Warcraft had their like big event with Cataclysm.
Whoa.
Because like in 2010 or something like that. Essentially, like for anybody who hasn't played that game, but like WoW up to that point was building expansions, and I think there had been like 2 or 3 of them or something like that. And the expansion that you had, you would always go somewhere else, right? Like went to Outlands with the Lich King, Wrath King, whatever that was, Wraith King, something like that. I'm getting confused with Dota characters too, but the Lich King expansion, when you fought Arthas, you went to Northrend or whatever, which is like another faraway place. But with Cataclysm, they took the world that was already in existence, the world that had been there since vanilla, and like totally changed it, right? Essentially the lore reason being that like Deathwing came back from wherever he was being held and like fucked up Azeroth. And the effect of that I thought was really great and made the world feel incredibly alive, because like you'd be running through the Barrens, a place that you have been through a million times. And whereas before there was like a town, at this point it's been like cut in half by this like gigantic like wall of fire that Deathwing put through there. And it made the world feel really exciting and like tangible in a way that to me, I hadn't felt WoW had been able to do yet. And I think it was because of that like big swing of saying like, we're going to take the existing world and totally change it. And I think you see a little bit of that with stuff like Destiny, but it was just so widespread that it felt incredibly significant. And so when I'm playing through Zelda, I'm kind of reminded of that, because the world is old enough at this point, because like the game came out so long ago, that I'm sort of familiar with what this version of Hyrule looks like. And so for it to be changed in this way feels significant, right? Like it would, I think a similar thing would happen if you played Persona 5 for 100 hours and then, you know, they totally changed the layout of the cafe or something like that.
Sure.
100 hours in, you'd be like, oh my God, things are changing and moving. Or if the neighborhood changed or something like that, right? It would feel significant because you are so familiar with these locations. And even to like, kind of a different example, but like Fire Emblem does this in the locations, but also just in like the characters, right? With the time skip, you notice how things change over time like that when there is such a dramatic shift. Anyway, point being, I think that is, I think some people might see a downside to this of their, you know, quote unquote recycling areas. I don't think it's that, but Hyrule has been changed. And I think that feels really significant, more so than just like, you know, the villages are a little bit more built out, but like, you know, this place has been kind of destroyed by events of the first part of the game, or this place isn't the same anymore. So
this place has mushrooms now.
Yeah. Yes. It's interesting. And like, I don't know that a lot of games like get to that level, because like it requires such a high bar of like players being really familiar with the locations that you're setting this game in, right? And so it's really cool to experience in a non-MMO. Yeah. So yeah, game good. Loving the depths still. Absolutely loving the depths. It's incredible down there. That's I think probably my favorite part of the game right now is just going down there and finding shit. Feels really significant.
It feels like a different game down there.
Yes, yeah. It's like they saw what FromSoft is doing and they're like, maybe we just have like a little bit as a treat. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
Just go explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is like those, they are like bonfires down there. Those big bulbs.
Like the light bulbs. Yeah.
Right.
Totally. It's, whenever you're like fully in darkness, it is a scary experience to be down there.
They really took the dark part of Dark Souls and like, here it is.
And nobody at Nintendo had played a Dark Souls game, so they're just like, I don't know, is it dark?
They love the dark part, not the Souls part, right?
Right. Oh God. Also the sound that the game makes whenever you fall into one of the pits into the depths is so frightening. It's this kind of like swell of horns that eventually kind of dissipates. Ooh. It's just so frightening. I
feel like you're frightened by horns. I feel like oftentimes you talk about horns is very scary on this show.
I don't trust him, David.
You don't trust a horn. The horn, just like your story last week.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's really, really good. I was also sort of reminded of like how significant it felt to play Half-Life 2 when that came out as like a mechanical experience. I know that a lot of people have sort of compared this to Gary's Mod, and like there's some truth to that, right? Of like the mechanical experience of just being able to make what the fuck ever in this game is incredible. But like outside of it kind of feeling like, you know, one-to-one kind of mechanical thing with Gary's Mod, I'm also just reminded of the significance of what it felt like in Half-Life 2 to just feel this leap forward that they were making of like, this is a big deal to be able to have a gravity gun, you know?
That was like, a huge deal.
Yeah, like games really hadn't done that level of like physics modeling up to that point with that amount of accuracy that you could also fuck with. And so like some of these shrines I'm going into, I'm like, this feels like how wild some of the stuff in Half-Life or Portal or something like that felt, where I'm really having to like break my brain to figure out what to do.
Yeah, you have to think beyond the confines of what the game has told you to do. The game is, like you said last time, it's challenging you to break it a little bit, figure it out.
She's just such a flex. God, dude. Like, can you imagine if you and I, like 6 years ago, put out the most like downloaded video game podcast of all time, didn't make another one for 6 years, and then came back with like that level of confidence to be like, yeah, we're going to do it again.
We're back
like,
again, baby. One off.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's outrageous. Just so confident in this kind of game. I had read that the like producers and directors of the game, they had said essentially like this is kind of the blueprint for Zelda moving forward. And I'm really interested in what that means, because I saw some like takes about it, like, oh, it's kind of like a bummer because I don't love, you know, the Breath of the Wild style of the game. And, you know, that's fair. Everyone's entitled to kind of the Zelda games that they can appreciate, right? I do like the older, like more linear Zelda games, you know, pretty well still. I don't think that they're necessarily like so similar to these ones that you need to compare them one to one. They feel very different. But I'm so interested in what they do with this now, you know, because I really doubt that they're just going to rest on their laurels and like, you know, put out a third Zelda game that also kind of changes the mechanics a little bit or something like that.
Yeah. I
sort of presume that the next one might be kind of significantly more different, at least in setting. And so like, I don't know, just like I trust these people at this point. They put out 2 of the best video games.
They know what they're doing over there. They have the keys to the kingdom.
Literally. Yeah, it's interesting. I really don't have a problem just kind of going back and doing more Zelda stuff again, because I'm sure that they will like remix it enough to the point where it feels novel.
What would you want them to do next?
I don't think I have the brain power to imagine what they could do in the next one, David.
Just everything is the depths.
Oh my God. I honestly, I have no idea, because like I've been so familiar with the world of Breath of the Wild at this point. I kind of like would love to see some different experiments of like what another place would look like with these kind of mechanics, or another kind of story or something. I haven't beaten the game yet, so I don't know if this like ties up or not. But yeah, I think like Zelda is just like such a rich lore to play with that like there's plenty of things you can do, you know? It's fucking good, man. I love these video games.
It's a good game, you say?
It's a good game. Yeah. I was like reading some reactions. This is kind of tangential, but related. I was reading some previews of the next like Mortal Kombat that got announced recently. And they're going back to Mortal Kombat 1, sort of resetting the lore.
Yeah. And
I saw some like kind of disappointment about that. And I really don't have a problem with them doing that at all. In the same way that like, I'm not disappointed when, you know, the shift from Wind Waker to Twilight Princess happened. Like it's going to be a very similar story, right?
Sure.
And like there are beats that you're going to expect. But like, I think that the fun with a lot of that stuff is seeing where they go with those experiments. Like I think especially Wind Waker, like you kind of know the beats that are going to happen, but I think the play that you get to see with like a Link who is maybe not just like a chosen one is fun. Why the world is the way that it is fun to figure out. Despite the fact that like Zelda's there and Link is there and Ganon's there, like they're all fucking present, but the playfulness with which they kind of like tease the lore and play with your expectations, I think is really cool. And I don't think it's that disappointing to have like games that are playing with a similar lore base and even Mortal Kombat, where it's like, this is a reboot, like they're rebooting the franchise, but like, I don't care, man. Like if it's interesting, it's interesting.
Let them cook.
Like, yeah, let them cook. They can easily do something cool. They could do a cool story.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like just killing dudes, and like that's the story of Mortal Kombat.
You can be sad that they are, leaving behind the old storyline and those characters, and also be happy that they're starting something new and excited for that as well. You can be both things,
Yeah, totally. Plus, like, Zelda's like, it's almost religion. Like, it's almost Jesus. So like, you can retell that story a lot, clearly.
Absolutely.
A lot of Western stories are just Jesus without the name the cross.
Link dies and comes back to life quite a few times in this game.
Yes.
Or at least this Link does. Both games start with him essentially dying and come back to life.
That's true. Yeah. And there's a lot of crucifixions in this game, if you've been paying attention on the internet.
Excuse me?
Have you not seen people crucifying the Koroks, David?
No. What the fuck? Why are people crucifying the Koroks? What is going on?
They will take 2 logs and essentially make a cross and then put the Koroks on the cross.
Like the big one with the big bag who's trying to find his friend?
Yes. Yeah. All those guys.
Just like, you're not finding your friend, you're finding God.
No. Yeah. You're going up to heaven, my man.
My God. What? That's a real gamer moment right there.
Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Yes, which is?
It is this very specific hovercraft that someone has discovered in Zelda.
Oh, discovered or created?
Kind of both. Was math created or discovered, David?
Well, okay, Chase. Mr. Philosopher over there.
I sent a link to you and Garen, and it's essentially just like one of the control units that they have, like a fan on kind of the front tip of it pointed up, and then on the lower part of it also a fan. So it's like really takes very little to make, but oh my God, this thing is good. It like does not take very much energy, and it's almost always climbing. So you can sort of just point it to the point where it's just going forward. It almost is like a helicopter.
It sounds like a helicopter, a helihover.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'm really making my way around town, making my way downtown, Lincoln fast.
Blasting Vanessa Carlton?
Faces past, and I'm Hyrule bound?
Hyrule bound? Depth bound?
Sorry, Vanessa. I'm just able to move through it very quickly, which is amazing. I'm glad that I did not discover this really early on, because I think it would have made the game feel a little bit less significant. But like, I've gone to most parts of the map at this point, and like, I haven't been to every corner of the depths, but like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I have the stamina to climb a hill for 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
but I can just make one of these things. You put one of the big like the giant light sources. I forget what they're called. The little like plants that you can use.
Yeah. The bright blooms?
Yes. If you put one of those on the bike, you can really just see where you're going, which I could see somebody like feeling like that doesn't feel fair, but like it's in the game, Yeah,
I feel like this is what the game wants you to do. In a way.
Yes. Which is really cool. It feels fun to be able to kind of take the reins off and be like, all right, there's like 3 shrines that I've been putting off going to because they're just in such a weird spot that like aren't easy to get to. I'm going to use this and go up there because it's like so much easier. Plus like my battery power is pretty high right now. I can really fly these guys around for a while.
It's from what you're talking about, it reminds me of the weird little personal helicopter you would get in Far Cry 4. Did you ever play that one?
Yeah. Was that the one in like Montana or whatever?
No, this is the one in the Himalayas. They might have had the same thing in the Montana.
I think they did. And I played both of them. So like I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, the like kind of like shitty, the tuk-tuk helicopter essentially that's like not held together with very much. Yeah,
it's like duct tape helicopter.
Yes, yeah, totally. No, yeah, it's like this is maybe not meant to be a permanent solution, but it sure is getting me to the top of the hill.
Beautiful. Climbing up that hill.
Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do.
What is it?
It's a good cave.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I love caves in video games. I didn't realize this. Like dungeons, don't come at me. Cave systems, I'm here for it. There's something about the aesthetics of a cave that I enjoy. I don't know if it's like the dampness, the cold feeling of it, the natural look of it. Just the feeling of the natural mystery of a cave, and that there's these creatures living in there, and maybe a person or two living in there as well, leaving some tasty things for you to plunder. I just love it. It's fun. It's a good feeling.
There's a lot of promise with a cave.
There's a lot of promise with a cave, and I feel like a cave makes you explore it in a very different way. because it is just it's natural. So it could be anything. It could be a dead end. It could be like you could have to go straight up. You could go sideways. You could be hidden behind some roots. Just got to go explore the cave. It's great.
I feel like Skyrim had really good caves. Oblivion too.
That's the other thing I was thinking about was Skyrim. Yeah. The Elder Scrolls has excellent caves.
Top tier caves.
Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2
good
has
caves.
some good caves. Yeah. Sword and sorcery type of games have good cave action going on in them, and I'm always just a sucker for spells and swords and all that kind of good stuff. Demons.
I also love when there's something unexpected in there, like just a weird little guy in a cave. You know,
just you love your weird little guys.
I do love my weird little guys.
Tingle hanging out in the cave in the back.
Hey, what's up? I've been living in here for like months. I'll give you a rupee if you jump for me.
No, I don't want to jump for Tingle for money. That feels dirty. That feels wrong.
It's just for fun, I promise.
It feels like he's going to record me and put it on some like weird Tinglegram. So there's all the different tingles in the world just looking at it.
Oh, man. I got to get an invite to Tinglegram. I got to get in there, man. The hottest new social.
Yeah, it's invite only.
Instead of the new Twitter app Blue Sky, it's Green Thigh.
You got to be this tingle to enter.
You must be this tingle to enter. What does it mean? Is that a height restriction or a vibe restriction?
A little bit of both. You like take a picture of yourself, like a full body pic, and you just upload it. And then they decide, the Council of Tingles decides if you pass the vibe check.
I don't know if this is a weird enough little guy to be on here, man.
You re-upload a picture of you in like a Speedo, and they're like, okay, he's good.
Now we're talking.
Got
to get some green tights in there, but like we're pretty close.
Just full green man suit.
That's a weird little guy.
I do feel like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny is kind of like the human version of Tingle in a way.
Yeah, he's got a little tingle to him, doesn't he?
He's got a little tingle to him, doesn't he? Has that sentence been said before? I don't know.
I hope not, but I bet it has. I bet that has been said before.
Somewhere by someone.
Do you want to move on to our main thing, David?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and talk about the things that we love about them. No longer gushing about the things that we love about them.
Yeah, gushing is no longer allowed.
No.
Chase is a known gusher.
Yeah.
This is physically paining Chase to have this conversation right now.
We got a suggestion from one of our listeners for this game called Sunmoner 2. This was suggested to us by Lozzlescotch. Thank you, Lozzlescotch.
Thank you, Lozzlescotch.
Good username. That's a fun one to say. Had you heard of this game ever?
Like, I think in the very back recesses of my mind, I had heard of this game. I definitely remember some ads of this game.
Like, oh, really? Some like TV ads?
Some print ads, like in GamePro or something like that. I never had any idea what the game actually was, but I remember the ads.
I don't. I don't know if this was in my memory anywhere. I think I knew the cover of the first one, but that's literally the most experience I have with this series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this was very much a fresh new experience for me.
Same.
Which is cool. I feel like that's kind of rare, to be honest. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own gamer horn, but I feel like I'm usually the games that that we play, I'm like, yeah, I definitely heard of that game before. Mm-hmm. Maybe not played it, but certainly heard of it. But this one, not at all. Literally not at all.
Yeah, and I think that this was a good one. I enjoyed it.
I did too. We can get into it, but let me hit you with a few hot stats about this game before we go full board.
We'll get into it when we do not gush.
No gushing allowed.
Hot stats.
So Sunmoner 2 came out for PS2 and GameCube. It came out on September 23rd, 2002 for PS2, and then February 4th, 2003 for GameCube. So within a 6-month-ish span.
Wasn't the GameCube one like a little bit of an up make?
That's what it looked like online. I played the PS2 one, and it definitely looked like visually the GameCube version was a little bit better looking. Mm-hmm. Which wouldn't surprise me, right? I think given the amount of time and how long games took to develop at the time, that they may have put a little extra old English on the
a little English on it.
Yeah, the GameCube version. But I certainly played the PS2 version, and it definitely looks like a PS2 game. Visually, it is looking like PlayStation 2 era. What else? This was made by Volition, which I was really surprised about because they are the makers of You'll probably know them for Red Faction and Saints Row.
Yeah.
Those are like by far the most of the games that they have made are in those two series. They had played, I think it's called like Descent or something like that.
My dad played the hell out of Descent.
Hell yeah. I was wondering if that was the same game. You had shown me that one a while ago.
Yeah. No, my dad was big on Descent. He had the control stick and everything. And I remember one time he went to the bathroom and left it like just paused, and I took it over, and he got mad at me when I got back because I fucked it all up.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh God. Poor Davey.
It happens.
Big dad move to have a flight stick. I feel like a lot of dads had flight sticks.
It was the thing to do for boomer dads with their personal computers back in the day.
Yeah. I feel like I saw a lot of flight sticks at like other people's houses and shit.
They were a fad, it seemed. They were a fad. So all the boomer dads could play the realistic World War II plane games.
Yeah, it's all
relive all the battles that they've read 1,000 times.
I wonder if it's just the era that they grew up in, but like World War II seemed like front of mind for so many boomer dads.
There's something about it they just love. They just love it.
Yeah.
The good guys win.
Back when things were simple.
Oh no, boo.
Oh yeah, boo, boomers.
Everybody boo.
Hey, I do have a review from Joe Video of Sunmoner 2. I took Joe Video's review, which was originally in French, and ran it through Google Translate a number of times, eventually spitting back out the husk of that review in English to get an artist's interpretation of Sunmoner 2. Okay, so I will now read you their review. While this isn't Schumer's first foray into a Nintendo console, it's a fun game. This software is only compatible with PS2 models and does not provide the full functionality of the device. The story doesn't raise many conflicts, and the repetitive story quickly becomes story boring. Hopefully, if there is a third party, the second party will learn from the previous two parties and make the game fun from start to finish. And they give that one 14 out of 20.
That's how they end the review.
It sounded like a math problem there at the end.
Yeah, it definitely gave me flashbacks to word math problems. I was like, oh God.
If the third party, then the second party will learn from the previous two parties.
How many apples does Chase have?
How many apples is Sonic holding?
Did it say Schumer in the beginning?
Yeah, apparently.
Chuck or Amy? Who do you think they're talking about?
I think it's got to be Chuck.
Chuck
I think
the truck.
The House Minority Leader's got a hand on this one. Is he in the Senate or the House? I can never remember.
He is in the Senate. The first picture of him on Google is a little rough.
Could you tell me? Oh my God, that is a bad picture.
That's a really bad picture. That does not make him seem like a good person at all.
No. Hey, could you tell me what Sunmoner 2 is, David?
Okay, that's a good question. Sunmoner 2 is a third-person hack and slash-ish, Dungeons and Dragons-ish role-playing game, which also allows you to take control of any of the number of people in your party as well. Yep. So you have buttons mapped to just using your sword. You have buttons. You can activate different numbers of skills through the D-pad. So you have things like revive, heal. You can turn into giant blood summon monsters that they call them, which is the summoner part of the game. You can summon these giant creatures as the main character, Maya. And there's some skill trees you can unlock, like dodging, parrying, do more damage, do special stealth moves, stuff like that. So there's a lot going on in this little game. Open area style of game, so you're let loose in a certain spot, and you can just go around and explore and see what's going on. They're not terribly large, but they're little intricate little mazes with some traps and tricks to get around. But anything to add to that?
I don't think so. The game eventually does open up a little bit more, so you have like a couple of hub towns and like a couple places that you can like upgrade your castle with or whatever, which is neat. Yeah, I think the game takes a second to reveal to you all the things it's doing, because it's really doing a lot.
There's a lot going on in this game.
Yeah, like there's just a lot of mechanics, and so it's sort of bizarre that they kind of feed them to you a little bit by bit. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much most of the game. I think you got it.
Yeah.
You said you kind of liked this one.
I did.
Yeah.
It gives me Baldur's Gate and Divinity vibes to it.
Yeah,
And as I said earlier, I am always just a sucker for swords and sorcery. I love the lore stuff. I love the world and the conceit of magic.
Yeah,
I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The story seems like bananas, and I was just like,
there's some deep lore in here.
Yeah, it's I think it's also a game that is not particularly like famous or big, and so there's not a British man explaining to me the lore of Sunmoner 2, so I kind of just had to like,
where's my British man?
And so like I was enjoying it, and I watched a couple of reviews from people who had like played the whole thing, and they do say that like the story definitely goes places. So it's interesting to see that on display here, because it's a very swords and sorcery approach to it.
Yeah.
The intro cutscene is just a feast for the eyes. The whole thing sort of looks like the cover of a graphics card from 2001, like just the weirdest shit going on of like somebody summoning a tree that like totally changes the desert into this like lush
that part
forest
was so
and shit.
strange. It's just is this a good person? Is this a bad person? They
very unclear.
They terraformed the whole desert. Is this a good thing? And then a big storm comes. The tree had a bunch of like apps on it. It looked like
it did have a bunch of apps. Yeah. Downloading iBeer onto your tree.
Exactly. Not the apple tree I was hoping for.
Wow. Gaming jokes, David.
It just derailed the shit out of Chase right there.
It's fine. You hit the factory reset on my brain for a second there.
Yeah. Got a big yawn and now he's ready to go.
The intro of the game felt so much like God of War, like the very first God of War.
Oh, sure.
With like the boats sort of clashing and shit like that.
The Aegean Sea.
Yeah. It was fun. I think that that introduction to the game is like appropriate. I honestly wish they had led with a little bit more lore, but I also recognize that that's probably the 2023 in me speaking. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like to market a game or to build a game like this at the time, it had to be so specifically appealing to gamers.
Yeah.
You know?
Get in there and swing your sword.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's nothing wrong with like leading with mechanics, but clearly this game has a lot going on. And I think I would have like loved to hear a little bit about that at the front rather than just like this lady made a tree and now the tree's under attack ? But it was super fun. I am reminded of so many other games when I was playing this game.
Same.
Just constantly it being hit with like, oh, that's from this, or this really reminds me of that. Mm-hmm. I think initially, like the thing that was weirdly very at the forefront was it felt kind of like a BioWare game from like
Dragon Age.
Yeah, Dragon Age, Jade Empire, really specifically too, because I think Jade Empire was like, it was good. I sort of suspect that probably didn't age great. That like a game set in a fantasy Eastern place made by Western developers, you know, we probably missed a couple things in there.
Yeah, tread lightly when you go back.
Yeah, so I can't imagine that it has aged horribly graceful, but the mechanics of that game were really, really fun and remind me a lot of what's going on here because they were a little bit more active than Dragon Age was initially, and also KOTOR as well. All kind of a similar vibe, and especially when you're able to like change to other characters. That felt very Dragon Age, very Jade Empire, of being able to kind of like switch around who you're playing as. And weirdly enough, the UI for when you're like leveling up, I was like, oh, definitely, that's a BioWare game in here. Where, you know, you're choosing stats and shit like that. It's got their head next to you and sort of like level up right next to you. What was on the top of your mind when you were like being reminded of other games?
Dragon Age was up there. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance had some feeling in there.
Oh yeah, totally.
Some Divinity, strangely. I think in just the way that you explore the overworld felt like Divinity, not the combat. Although I think I was reading that the GameCube one had more of like a turn-based combat system, more like a like a Dragon Age.
Oh, really?
That's what I was reading on the Wikipedia, but fact check me on that one. So then I'm like, wow, that would really feel like a BioWare game for sure. But those are probably the ones that came to mind the most readily when I was playing this game, and I like all of those games.
Yeah.
So I am not upset that I'm getting reminded of these great games that I enjoy playing.
Yeah, no, totally. Same here. I think like I was going to say integrated those things very well, but like it predates a lot of those. Mm-hmm. And so like I feel like those games are reminding me of this game in some ways. I'm sure it was just in the water because I don't think BioWare looked at Sunmoner 2 and they're like, hell yeah, let's do that. There's certainly similar stuff in there. I thought the like magic system was pretty interesting and robust for a game that was mostly active, you know, like you're definitely doing a lot with the magic system. It's like almost Final Fantasy level stuff going on.
Yeah, I like that when you go to select your magic or whatever skill you're trying to use, it like soft pauses the game essentially.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, so you can just go find what you want and then get back into it, because the game was kind of hard actually. The game kicked my ass quite a few times. So yeah, it was a challenge, but a fun challenge. It definitely made you have to. It was the challenge in the way that it made you really have to think about how you were positioning people and who you were playing as in any given situation and what skills you wanted to be using.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate the challenge for that. That it really made you have to use like all the mechanics at your disposal to come out on top. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time in some of these situations.
Yeah, it is definitely demanding of you to understand what the game is doing.
Yes.
You kind of can't just hack and slash at it. There are parts of it that you can get through, but like you do kind of have to be careful of like, I'm not just running into a situation where I'm going to get bodied by the next guy that attacks me or whatever. Mm-hmm. Weirdly enough, we were talking about other games that it reminded me of. I feel like there's a lot of Final Fantasy 12 in here specifically. Like 12 is not mostly, but a more swords and sorcery approach to Final Fantasy than some of the other ones are. It feels very much like a fantasy game. There's of course wild shit going on in there too, but it was familiar in that way. But specifically the ability to set like kind of like AI commands for your partners felt very Final Fantasy 12. I think in 12 they call them like gambits or something like that, where you set essentially like a script for your party of like, okay, if you have full health, I want you to be attacking people just all the time and use magic sometimes. And then if I fall below 30% health, then please use like a potion on me or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so it's asking you to like get into a little bit of scripting, which like, you know, as an engineer, it's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And this one does the same thing where it's like, okay, what do you want your partners to be doing while they are fighting with you?
Yeah, you can go and like set their AI to do different things, which is fun.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And it really adds a lot of depth to a game that like you were saying, it demands you to understand what you're doing. And so if you've got that fine grained control over like, all right, well, this person needs to be doing XYZ if I'm low on health, then, you know, we do this, which is neat. Also love that the main character is a support healer. Like that's her class.
I do
for
like
the most
that,
part.
yeah.
That's really like bold most of the time, you know, like in any other RPG or like action game, like the
DPS
first person
only.
you get, yeah, it's usually like a warrior or something like that, you know? But like other than like, God, what is it? There's a Dragon Quest game where your first character is a healer as well. But I really like that. I think that's kind of a bold choice to give the main character sort of this like support role. It shifts, at least for me, it shifts how I look at the game and like what I need to be doing at any given point. Because I think while I was playing it for the first little while, I was definitely playing it like any other game where it's like, I'm the big strong boy and I'm going to charge into the fight and kick everybody's ass. Whereas like the first partner that you get, the like Navi looking lady, she's much stronger than you are. Like she's very good at like sneaking and being stealthy and doing a lot of damage. And so I was like, okay, well, I should just like heal her a lot of the time. And maybe try and like stay back and summon if I can, which worked a lot better than me just charging into the middle of the fray. Yeah. Again, cool. That seems like a lot of depth for this kind of game, you know?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed how much voice acting they had.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that.
True.
Lots of voice acting lines, not even just in cutscenes, but in just the text boxes as well. That was a pleasant surprise. And I thought that the voice acting was passable. You know, it wasn't like amazing, but it was fine.
I wasn't taken out of the experience by the voice acting.
Absolutely,
you know,
right. It was just straight down the line voice acting.
It's a video game. Yeah, that's fine. Nobody's putting on a clinic, but like, yeah, that sounds like the person that you're trying to be right now. That's fine. That's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. It does seem like there's kind of a lot of polish on this game. Like not necessarily visually, but like I think mechanically it's very polished. Like you're saying, the voice acting inclusion is really cool. I just feel like their systems that are in place are pretty impressive to me. Yeah,
for being a PS2 and GameCube game, pretty impressive that they got all this depth in there.
I feel like the games that you see that are that in depth, people talk about a lot, you know? I think like Kingdom Hearts stands out because it was such a jump and still is mostly fun as an action RPG.
Yeah.
Or, you know, any of the Final Fantasies that were on PS2. But I don't hear about this game very often, and I'm kind of surprised about that because there's just so much stuff going on with the mechanics that I would have thought that this would have gotten kind of a shine at the time. Like people would have talked about this a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess maybe it runs into the issue of that it is master of none, right? It does a lot of things well, and some things pretty darn well, but it doesn't do anything exceptional, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not a diss or anything. It's just it doesn't have the same like fluidity of motion or joy that like the hack and slash elements of you know, Kingdom Hearts does, or you know, maybe quite that same like a dungeon crawling goodness that a, you know, Baldur's Gate or like Dark Alliance had, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the bones are there, but it doesn't necessarily bring it all together as well as those other games do, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
I also think this is for those reasons, this is kind of a good game to play removed from the era that it's in, you know?
Sure.
Like, I feel like when you're experiencing games as a modern thing, right? Like, at least personally, I'm usually looking at what comes out in a year as like, what is the thing that is doing the most interesting or doing something the best or anything like that. And that's usually the games that I pay attention to a lot. Yeah. Whereas in hindsight, that's not necessarily what I'm looking for all the time. It's cool to see those, right? Like, I think it is really neat to see that like Kingdom Hearts was doing what it was doing on the PS2, or, you know, Final Fantasy 10 or 12 is really stepping out in certain ways, and they do things really incredibly. But because a lot of those genres have been iterated on, like, it's not necessarily the same experience to feel like, oh my God, I can't believe how good of an action RPG Kingdom Hearts is, because like there have been better ones since then, you know? It's still very good, but the shock of it being so bold and new isn't there anymore. And so I think my tolerance for games that are not perfect in a lot of ways is a lot higher when I'm looking at stuff that's this old, because it's doing enough well that I was having a good time, you know? Whereas if it was the era, I might be like trying to kind of criticize it and think about the things that it's not doing quite as well, or like, oh, it's not like this game, or it's not like that game, or anything like that. Whereas that's not really the experience I have while I'm playing it in 2022.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. It's a good, what is it? What's the saying? Comparison is the death of joy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, I could see how this game would get overshadowed by other games of its era, but just looking at it in itself, it does a lot of things well. It's good. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like, I didn't experience this firsthand because like, you know, I didn't play this for however many hours it takes to beat. But like I was having a little bit of this, but from what I understand, the people who like this game talk a lot about the cast as being something that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think I get why that would be the case, right? Like there is a lot of writing, there is a lot of like dialogue, and being able to play as all these other characters, I think does lend a certain amount of tangibility to them that you don't always get with RPG characters.
That's true.
The fact that you can play as any of them and experience like what they do well, and then that they're like in the cutscenes, similar to like KOTOR or any of the BioWare stuff or from this era. It does make you feel closer to these people in a lot of ways. And same thing as Divinity, right? Like you can play as any of the characters and you get a little bit closer to them that way.
Yeah, it makes it, that much more personal connection. And I do think that having voice lines for all of the characters does go a long way to make them also seem more personal. It's not like just the main character has a voice actor, right? It's everyone does. And they're all characterized in a consistent and believable way with like a lore and a background that makes sense for how they act and what they do. And so I like the consistency of that. And I also like how there's just like quite a few characters you can get in this game.
I think there's 7 total.
Yeah, you can have a big old party.
And it's also helpful because I think they allow you a lot of like experience whenever you're going out with them, so that it doesn't feel like you have to use the ones that are leveled up. That they make that pretty easy to like get people up to level, which is cool. It's good. It feels like they're really encouraging you to like get to know the whole cast.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's good. I like this game. It was a good one.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. It sucked me in pretty quickly.
Also shouts out to the fact that it's one of those games that if you put on a new piece of armor, you can see the new piece of armor.
Oh, yeah, and the sword looks different.
So cool.
Got that flaming cutlass in the beginning. I was like...
Yes. I know that that's like not super novel of a thing in 2023, but like at the time I ate that shit up. Just like, let me play a little dress up. Let me get a cool looking new sword.
There's something very primal in a way of just being able to dress up something or someone in the way that you want. It's like a childlike primalness. It's weird.
Wearing a cute shirt triggers my lizard brain.
Like even just, I was just thinking recently, like Chicory, when I'm playing that, there's just so many, they just throw different articles of clothing at you so fast. And you're just like, oh, now I finally got the boots to match my dress. This is great. I'm looking fly right now.
Put on crop top, brain gives dopamine. Simple as that.
Crop top matches the hat. Here we go. Doing good.
Shouts out Jedi Survivor. So much dress up in that game.
You have a pretty cool looking Cal Kestis at this point.
Yeah, no, very, very into the looks he's serving. I was pretty close to beating that game before Tears of the Kingdom came out. I really gotta put that on my to-do list before the end of the year, is go back and finish that one.
I'm gonna have a big to-do list at the end of this gaming year.
Dude, there's so much shit coming out in the next like month.
What's coming out?
I'm gonna have to
what's coming?
Let me see. Hold on. I know Final Fantasy 16's within like a month here.
That's going to be more your thing.
I think so.
But that's a big one. That is a big one.
Yeah. I've been reading sort of like reviews or previews of it, and I am so thrilled. A lot of people are describing it as Final Fantasy's turn towards Game of Thrones, which is very fun.
Whoa.
Very cool.
Like political? Bloody?
Very political, very like bloody. A lot of like character deaths and shit like
Betrayals.
That. Which is, yes. Yeah. I'm into. I'm not like going to go nuts over this, but Street Fighter 6 does come out on June 2nd, which is pretty significant.
Okay. You're going to get into the fighting game scene, Chase.
Man, I don't know. I think Street Fighter 6 might not be the one for me.
You're going to get the big $200 controller.
I don't think so. I think like if there is ever another Soul Calibur that gets big again, I will probably do that. Because like I still know Keelix combos.
Sure.
Probably not the Street Fighter, because like some of the mechanics in there are dense.
Oh yeah.
So Diablo 4 comes out June 6th, which is nuts. Final Fantasy 16 comes out in June.
June 6th for Diablo 4?
Yes, yeah, very soon.
I'm going to play that with Mal. It's couch co-op.
Oh, nice. Love that. Front Mission 2 remake for all those interested. Pikmin 4? Is that the most recent Pikmin? Why is that listed here?
No, that's the new one. I don't think they've released Pikmin 4.
Is there a new Pikmin?
Yeah. You didn't know this?
No. I thought Pikmin 4 already came out.
No, Pikmin 3 came out on the Wii U, I think.
Wow, I don't think I knew that there was a new Pikmin coming out. That's pretty sick. Oh, wow.
I like Pikmin.
I do too. I'm into it.
Weird little
I played
guys.
3 and they're weird little guys.
Everywhere.
That's totally true.
Army of weird little guys doing your bidding.
Oh God, Sea of Stars comes out in August.
Sea of Stars?
Yeah, it's like a kind of retro RPG looking thing.
Oh.
Also, Baldur's Gate 3 comes out August.
Oh yeah. What about Starfield? Doesn't that come out this year?
Yeah, it's September.
God, like if some of these were more just like single player one and done experiences, that would be great. But like these are some beefy games. Big games, beefy games that you could spend months in. It's giving me gamer anxiety. It's too much.
Getting game-anxiety. Anyway, do you have anything else to say about Summoner 2, David?
I enjoyed it. I like summoning into a giant blood monster and kicking some ass. It was great.
It's very cool. Yeah. I think there's a lot of novelty on display in this game. Mm-hmm. And not in like a cheap novelty way. Like truly novel mechanics for the time. I was like, I came away feeling very impressed, and like somebody at BioWare must have played something in here, man. Like there's no way.
Also, this lore is so deep.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciated that. And can I just say real quick that I love that they have on this island in the very beginning that you're on, there's 5 worm deities, like WYRM, like wyverns or dragons.
Wyrms.
And one of them is the god of songs. I love that they had like vengeance and then songs. It's like, this is great. Songs are on the level of these other 4 like primal emotions. This is great. I just really enjoyed that.
Creative gods. That's always very good.
Yeah. A god that is like, okay, we're just doing something good for the people.
Yeah.
The Bernie Sanders of gods.
For sure. Yeah. I am once again asking for your worship. I don't know if that's anything.
I don't know. I don't know if that would make me like Bernie at that point.
Well, he is a god at that point, so you never know. Anyway, Lozzlescotch, thank you for suggesting this one. This was a good game.
Yeah. No, I was very pleasantly surprised with this one. It was fun.
Yeah, totally.
So if you would like to visit our small corner of the internet that Chase has so lovingly and expertly created, you can visit podtimism.com. You can check our backlog. You can search all of our past episodes for any sort of game that we have maybe ever talked about and just check out what we said about it on that podcast. You can even suggest games for us to do, or it could be, give us new segments to do as well. We're open to pretty much anything.
Yeah, I'll take whatever.
I'll take whatever, baby. So yeah, go check it out. It's great. We have our links to our social medias on there, and I think to our email as well. So check it out. It's great. If you really want to help us out, you can leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We really appreciate it. It really helps the podcast, and we love reading them. It's great. It's a good time.
It's true. Also, shouts out to the people who are still engaging with the Spotify Q&A. I see some people chiming in on there every now and then, which is very fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we love the interaction. It's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for our beautiful podcast art. Scout is a multi-talented individual, so you can check out her art at co-fi.com/humblegoat.
You got it.
If she has any commissions open. And you can also check out her podcast, Paws and Claws, baby. Great podcast
Good
name,
as hell.
might I say.
Yeah.
It sounds like it should be like a cocktail or something like that. Paws and Claws.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe
I need to make a Paws and Claws and see how that turns out.
I guess it's going to happen next time. The claws are coming out.
Also, just quickly, her commissions are open right now. Just heads up. There's 5 slots if you need to get in there, which I highly recommend.
I mean, watch out. Chase might scoot in there real quick and get another commission of some weird character we made on the show. So
yeah, some cursed human.
Yeah,
God Bernie Sanders. I'll have her draw him.
Can you draw just a weird little guy, please?
Do you have any sort of weird little guys on offer?
She's like, oh yeah, I have one just cooking in the back of my brain this whole time, just waiting for you.
Honestly, I bet Scout has some weird little guys in her head that she could draw.
I mean, it's impressive how quickly she was able to just start drawing things.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Talented individual.
To non-artists, I feel like artists are like magicians.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just always like, how is this possible to do this?
My brain and my hands just do not function that way at all.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Scout.
Thank you, Scout. If you also want to help us again, you can spread the good word of Podtimism by mouth, the old-fashioned way, the analog way of disseminating information before the internet. And let some good friends know about the podcast and see if they like it. It's probably one of the better ways for us to grow, and we would appreciate it. So thank you very much. And at the very end here, we want to have a special thank you to all of you, the people listening. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Yeah. It's pretty amazing that people listen to us do this. So yeah, we are endlessly grateful for y'all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everybody too. I'd mentioned that every 50th episode is generally kind of some kind of celebration for us. I guess we've only had 3, so 50, 100, and then 150 now. But thanks for everybody who was chiming in with like some very kind words about that. It means a lot and doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you. You've filled my heart with Podtimism joy.
Likewise.
Also, yeah, it was fun to make 150. So
it was fun.
Thank you for
it was fun to subject you all to our stories. Chase.
Yeah.
Do you have any words of gaming wisdom for us this week?
I think I do. If you need to spend this much time in Hyrule, that's fine.
That's it?
It's more of a sort of advice for myself. I'm trying to let myself off the hook for the sheer amount of...
Are you trying to rationalize how much time you spend in this game?
If you've played maybe close to 50 to 60 hours of Zelda, that's okay. Me.
This game hasn't even been out a week, right?
Depends on when you're listening to this. I definitely felt the crunch of wanting to get the show out a little earlier last time. And I probably will this time too, because I feel like the internet is moving at breakneck pace with regards to Tears of the Kingdom right now. Like I listened back to the episode, I was like, oh, you sweet summer child. You have experienced none of this game yet.
But it came out last Friday, right?
Not a few days ago as we record this, but the one before that. Yeah. I've had a week to play this. Yeah.
I mean, not even a week. It's Wednesday.
No, because last Friday would have been a week.
It came out 2 weeks ago?
No, it didn't come out over the weekend.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I'm tripping. Time.
No, it's fine. Time. There's a lot of time fuckery going on. Maybe I'll send Zelda into the past to fix it, David.
No, I know she in the past. I seen that. What
She
you doing back there, girl?
How'd she-
What you doing in the past?
What's she doing? How's she gonna get back?
How you gonna get back? Why are you there?
Why are you there?
How does Raru and the Queen of Hyrule work? What's going on?
Also, how do they work out? Their bodies are slamming.
I'm gonna need your workout schedule ASAP, Raru.
Raru, your hip bones are so visible and your abs look so strong. How did you do this?
Raru, I'm trying to be you, okay? Give me your sketch right now.
Raru, more like be you.
Raru, more like me and you.
Ooh.
Wherever you want. Could be the gym. Could be a romantic date. I don't know.
Raru, more like do a little ditty that I wrote for you, Raru.
Raru, more like Count Dooku.
Huh? Where's the word? How on that one?
Lightsabers. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just go with it. Just go with it. Just a feeling.
Is there any word that actually rhymes with Raru?
Raru.
Raru, more like renew the lease on our friendship.
Damn.
Raru, more like taboo.
Ooh. Like Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas.
Is that a song from the Black Eyed Peas?
No, it's one of the members of the Black Eyed Peas. Taboo.
It's one of the people?
Yeah, you don't know Taboo?
I barely know Fergie. Like, I don't know who's in there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you're right. There's a person named Taboo in the Black Eyed Peas.
Raru, more like never be blue when I'm around you.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry to derail the Raru bit, but Taboo in his also known as is Jim Louie Angryfoot.
Jim Louie Angryfoot?
Yeah.
I like Angryfoot.
I really, really like Angryfoot. That's absolutely a Dark Souls boss. Jim Louie Angryfoot. It also might be the title of this podcast. We'll see how this goes.
You just see a guy who's just standing in the corner, like sitting on the stoop of his sidewalk, and he just has like one big foot. And people just going by like, what's up? What's the deal with that guy? It's like, oh, that's old Angryfoot. Just leave him be.
Another also known as is Bobby Greentoes, man.
What's going on with his feet? Does he have like, does he have gangrene on his feet or something?
Taboo, I got to know about them toes, dude. You got to tell me what's going on in there, dude.
Oh, man.
Anyway, see you next week, gamers.
All right, see ya.
Bye.